ago I needed to go to a birthday party. I had nothing, so I had this Dremel and this bit of diamond drill, and I started engraving a glass for somebody. From there I sort of developed the technique. Working on a large glass engraving for a commission, it's for a doorway, and I started off making first a couple of small sketches. Then I made a large sketch about 1:1 the size of the actual door panels, and I transferred onto the glass. But one needs to have a clear idea of what you're going to do on glass. Dealing with an outside panel which is normally fixed, I use 8mm glass, but this particular glass engraving is done on 10mm glass because one deals with a door, and a door is in movement all the time, so you don't want to make it too vulnerable to snapping. When I start my glass engravings, I have all panels sandblasted first, because I like to work from matte to clear. It's very hard to be precise when you start taping areas out to sandblast it. You might miss bits, it doesn't look right. And also starting from clear glass and then engraving it, the clear glass has no life to it, in my view. So what I do is I like to really polish the areas to clear, so it looks like man-made or handmade glass rather than factory-made glass. And what I do is have that first sandblasted, and then I sketch my design over the top. After the design is drawn on, things are of course open to improvisation, so sometimes I just change things around. Nothing is fast set in one's design, but when you do start engraving, is actually to pay attention to what you do, because you can't take it out anymore. Over here you got a series of diamond burrs which I use for my glass engraving. While using diamond burrs, make sure that at any situation or you're working the glass wet, because you cause quite a lot of friction with the diamond, it heats up, and also you don't want to have the dust, the silicon, breathed in with one lungs. Also earmuffs, because you're dealing with very high frequency of sound, and that can damage your hearing. I use the round burrs for the straight lines, and I use the fatter tools, or the rounder tools, which are flat at the top and rounded. I use them to go from a straight line to a wider line, a bit like writing with a fountain pen. You get a more voluptuous line, and more like a pencil line rather than a straight dead line. Other ones I use for scooping, those ones I use for grinding, so that I can go deeper into the glass. It's important that you keep an even pressure, so that you keep the chisel well under control. The good thing when you work with silicon and you work with water over the top, the loose silicon will fill in the curve, so you immediately have some effect of what it looks like later on. It's also very important when you make glass engravings that you don't have continuous lines, that you leave gaps Otherwise, like a glass cutter, you will just break the glass. And so you make sure you leave reinforcements within the glass engraving so it doesn't snap on you. It's important from that angle to leave areas when you have two lines meeting, don't have them quite touch, because you just create a weakness. Lots of the detail of the glass engraving is where I make shadow lines, is where I polish the glass nearly to clear again. This is an area which is partly polished, for which I use polishers. It's silicon sand put in rubber, but with that you need to, because you're working at dry, you need to have a mask, because that's not very good for your lungs to inhale it. I think the process of glass engraving is being aware of working with, because something is very transparent. It's either transparent or opaque, and it is a very narrow region that you actually work the diamond burrs quite sensitively, because you have no paint to dilute things with. You work with the diamond burrs to polish the glass from opaque to clear. But if you can develop that sensitivity, it gives you a wide range. My character of glass engraving is I like a sketchiness, where on one side it has lots of detail, where you have some areas that are very finely polished and other areas that are actually quite rough, and that you actually make a good mixture of the two. So it is actually done quite freely. It looks quite sketch-like and rough. You need to actually have a sturdy hand. And sometimes I also work with gold leaf or silver leaf or copper leaf on top of the glass. When the light comes through the window, it appears just black, but at night time the copper leaf and the silver leaf and the gold leaf will reflect back. So with the whole total image, the whole glass changes again. Glass is really, to me, something magical, because it's like dealing with a frozen liquid. It's like ice, but it stays a bit longer. When you engrave it, it continuously changes with the light of the day, so that actually it changes continuously. It's not something that is a fixed thing like a painting, although the image is fixed, but the light behind it changes. So from going to clear at night time, when it's dark, you have the image really on the surface, becoming more introspective rather than becoming translucent. And that's why probably one of the reasons I like working with glass. And because most of my imagery are quite aquatic, like I working with fish and birds and serpents, and so I think to me the medium as such suits symbols very well. Obviously with my work I have symbols which reoccur over and over in my work, but the symbols itself are a bit like a catalyst. They are my tongue to express that what I can't express as a human being. I mean, I have lots of things I can express, but I mean, I think it's important that the language, that your characters or your technique or whatever you use become a catalyst on your behalf. And so I've worked in mosaics, and I've worked in oil paintings and glass engravings, and working with textiles, and every medium has its own language. So in that way it also extends the language you are talking with.